Welcome to Blank Purgatory. I have been living here for 70 days now. Today I wanted to do a little recap of my journey here and discuss how to make your plank a little better. So, I'll start off by saying that today I did 5 sets of 3-minute planks. I took at least 10 minutes break in between, and it was not so bad. It wasn't bad at all. When I went through the first week of plank purgatory, I was struggling a lot, mentally and physically. If you want to plank, one thing you'll have to do is overcome the intense desire to escape discomfort. A plank is not going to be comfortable. And when you know it's coming and you know you can avoid it, people are going to try to avoid it. So don't do that. Embrace the challenge, address the issue, and attack it head on. Because there are things you could do that actually can make it easier and more bearable. When I was first going through the first week of plank purgatory, I was only doing 1-minute planks. I was doing 10 minutes total, 10 sets of 1-minute planks, and that weighed on me a lot. Every single plank, knowing I gotta get back down on the floor, gotta spend another minute, really sucked. However, it got easier. Just going through the motions, it got a little easier. The first week, doing a 1-minute plank was relatively easy. And then doing one after that was a little harder. And doing one after that was a little harder. And it was like the planks were wearing me down. Yeah, wearing me down, wearing on me. I don't think they physically were. I think it was mostly mental. They were difficult though. They weren't easy. It was not easy to do a 1-minute plank at the start. And mind you, before I started doing this, I had done a 5-minute plank. So, a 1-minute plank is exponentially easier. It's quite a bit easier. It's just having to go down and do it again and again and again and again is not so easy. And you are kind of sensitive to that if you haven't done it before. Now I'd like to talk about some things that make planking easier for me now. The first thing would be adjusting my form. About 30 days into plank purgatory, I made a realization. I made this realization while watching Josef Salik, the world record holder in the plank. He held a plank for 9 hours, 38 minutes, and 47 seconds. I highly recommend you look up Josef Salik and actually just watch his form just for a little bit. Look at how he's planking. It's very interesting to me because it's not really what I initially expected. I thought the plank is shaped like a cheese wedge or a slice of pizza, right? Your arms go up to the shoulders, and then your back, your mid back, your low back, your legs slope downwards until they get to your feet. And I thought this made a sort of wedge where your shoulders are the highest point and it slowly slopes down your back until it gets to the floor. This is not what a plank is. A plank is like an arch, like the arch in a doorway. It is a little one-sided because, well, the body is not symmetrical that way. However, it works quite well. What I found worked best for me when planking is to replicate in my mind the form of Josef Salik. If you look him up, you'll see his shoulders and his hips, his butt, are fairly close in elevation, and the highest point on his body is actually somewhere in his back. It's in between the hips and the shoulders. And this is what makes the arch. This is the hollow body position. This is how you minimize the tension on individual muscles and you distribute it as evenly as you can. Now, there are certain things you'd like to do, such as having your legs straight. That means no bend in the knees. You want to prop yourself up on your shoulders. You want your shoulders pushing down and into the ground. And that's pretty much it, honestly. There's a few things I like to think about being, so these things being pushing forward with my elbows and my arms and pushing back with my feet. And I'm kind of thinking of myself like a compressed spring. My feet are pushing me forward and my arms are pushing me back. And this tension created in the middle is assisting that arch. It is supplying that arch with potential energy, which allows it to stay in that position. This is how I really broke through a barrier in planking. I have not done a plank until failure in about 40 days now. The last one I did was a 7-minute 25-second plank, if I remember correctly. It's all on YouTube. I think it was day 30 or 31. I did a 7-minute 25-second plank, and it was right before this attempt that I realized the arch, the importance of the arch, the importance of form in the plank. It's not about being a wedge, it's about being adaptable and being a little round and being able to absorb some force. If that makes sense. It makes sense to me. The plank is not so heavy on the muscles as it is on the mind. Now, the muscles have to know what they're doing, and the mind has to be able to put off that temptation of it burns, get out of this situation. And once you could do that, you will improve in the plank. I remember reading about a girl. She was like 13 or 14, or I don't know, maybe 16. She was a teenager, right? And she had broken the women's world record for planking. And I believe she did it by a big margin, like 30 minutes or something. It's a big record. And this was a teenage girl who, if I remember correctly, was not like super athletic. She didn't have big bulging muscles. She was relatively small, in fact, but she managed to hold a plank for something like 40 minutes or an hour and 40 minutes. I don't even remember. Quite a long time. But that just goes to show the plank does not require that much muscle. Now, if you've got a big body, and then maybe it's going to require some more from you. I'll admit that. You got a big body, and suddenly planking becomes harder for you. That just makes sense. But if you are relatively lean, if you get the form down and you get some practice under your belt, you could plank for a very long time, an extended amount of time. Just like this girl, just like Yosef Salik did. It's all about form. Form, patience. Those are the two main factors in planking. And practice. Practice is incredibly important as well. Start out with a small number. If you have to, 5-10 seconds. If that's all you can manage, 5-10 seconds. And after a few minutes, you could plank again. Maybe you can't do it as long, but you can definitely do it. What happens the next day? Well, try it again. Did you make it 10 seconds and then you made it 5 seconds the next time? Go for 10 seconds twice. Did you make it 10 seconds and it felt easy and you just decided you weren't going to do more? Go for 20 seconds, go for 30 seconds, go for 40 seconds. In fact, I recommend, if you're new to it, plank until failure. And this means technical failure as well. If you've got your butt in the air, waving around, you're not doing much of anything. You're definitely not planking. You want your hips and your shoulders to be at relatively the same height. You want the highest point to be somewhere in your middle back. You want to maintain a hollow body position. You want to push forward with your arms and push backwards with your legs. Think of yourself as a spring. You definitely want to breathe. I found breathing to be extremely helpful, specifically when it comes to these longer planks like I did today. Experiment with breathing. If you're going to do your first 1-minute plank, experiment with breathing. Don't hyperventilate. Be in control of your breath. Be in control. You could try box breathing. A box breath is where you go inhale, you pause for the same amount of time it took you to inhale, exhale in the same amount of time, and then pause again. So it'd basically be like inhale for 2 seconds, pause for 2 seconds, exhale for 2 seconds, pause for 2 seconds, and repeat. You could do this on a larger scale, right? Inhale real slow, 4 seconds. Pause 4 seconds. Exhale 4 seconds. Pause another 4 seconds. You could do whatever you want. If you want to just practice your breath in and out, nasal breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth, whatever you want. Make sure you're breathing. Think about your form, think about how your body's doing, and try to enjoy it. If you can learn to enjoy it, then you're going to get better at it. If you learn to enjoy it, it gets easier to do. So do your best. Try to enjoy it. Keep practicing. Practice is one of the biggest things. If you practice, you're going to learn a thing or two. You're going to gain some experience. You're going to get a little more acclimated to the pain. And you're going to grow. Thank you for watching. It's time for me to go to bed.